So, there are lots of people who say कि Ram Gopal Varma का charm अभी नहीं रहा, the way it used to be, and now he's become little sunky also, ऐसे sunky हो गए हैं actually. और तो how do you take this thing, and आप इसके बारे में क्या कहना चाहोगे?
In this particular interview, did you ever hear anything me saying sunky something? So that okay. So
I'm just talking.
No, I understand. That's okay. Yeah. So see, I have a very strong opinions on things, and I use my Twitter to say anything what I feel, and that is the whole point of having a Twitter. If you don't say that, why have it? See, if I am talking to someone in person, and if I am talking to my followers, that's an internal communication between us. And if anyone thinks I'm sunky, he can unfollow. He doesn't need to bear with me. So as long as we have that freedom, yeah, that is one point. So with regard to what, everyone has an opinion on everyone. So the point is, I don't have time to think about people who have the time to think about me. Yeah.
But you are not taking lots of pangas, previously you never used to do that way.
I never take
to say,
even
industry में बहुत सारे लोगों से आप पंगा ले रहे हो आप, actually ऐसा हो गया है.
Tell me a single thing. Give me one single example. I express my opinion of something happening on the public domain,
yeah,
not on a person.
Yeah, that's a total.
And I never did take to a panga with anyone. Yeah.
राम जी इसको ऐसे भी कहा जा सकता है. राम जी इसको ऐसे भी कह सकते हैं क्योंकि आपकी जो शुरुआती फिल्में नहीं हैं, आपकी फिल्में देखिए हमने आपको बहुत.
If I have been a filmmaker for an X amount of time, I was also nobody when I first started. So I think the responsibility is on me to convince somebody that my content is worth putting, because a film is a very expensive business to make it, to release it, and there are different people. Theater का एक अलग perspective होता है, distributors का अलग होता है, investors का अलग होता है, actors का, everyone has their own interest. So I think like water finds its own balance, So eventually in a competitive world, agar 1,000 people try, probably one person will make it, But the 999 people not making it, that is their fate. I'm not saying that. But I think when you're venturing into that kind of a business, you have to be prepared to take that kind of a backlash, But every once in a while, you always have seen like some film comes is not backed by anybody big, any big camp or whatever those things are called. The big lesson for everyone is Kashmiri fights, for example. A film of that budget and without any big names backing it, if it has done that itself is proving your point wrong, because okay, it happens very less number of times. I'm not saying no to that, but I think it's a function of how the business aspect of the industry functions. Yeah.
Hello.
Hello Pooja.
Hi.
This is Pravina from Navrashtra Media.
Hi Pravina.
तू खूप सुंदर दिसतेस. पहिले तर तुला सांगणार मी.
Thank you.
तू या मूवी मध्ये बोल्ड आणि ब्युटिफुल कॅरेक्टर प्ले केलेला आहेस. म्हणजे तू प्रूव्ह केलं की मुलींचे हात फक्त बांगड्या घालण्यासाठी नाही, वेळ आली तर त्याचा वापर
माझे जे कॅरेक्टर आहे या फिल्म मध्ये पूजा कानेचं, ते खूप स्ट्रॉंग आणि खूप पॉवरफुल. आय मीन she knows what she's doing. She knows what decision is to be made. तो फिल्म में जैसे दिखाया गया है, sorry, if you want me to answer in Marathi, I will do that. तर मूवी मध्ये पण जे माझं कॅरेक्टर आहे ते खूप स्ट्रॉंग दाखवलंय, आणि कुठेतरी असं माझी अशी इच्छा आहे की जे मूवी मध्ये मी पोर्ट्रे केलंय तेच मी कॅरी ऑन करू शकते की नाही इन माय लाईफ. तर तोच माझा प्रयत्न आहे, आणि माझी इच्छा आहे की पूजा कार्णिक नेहमी माझ्यामध्ये असावी. जे पण मी डिसिजन घेते लाईफमध्ये, जे काही आय एम ट्राईंग टू परफॉर्म एनिथिंग, सो आय वॉन्ट टू कॅरी ऑन दॅट कॅरेक्टर फॉरवर्ड इन माय लाईफ.
Hi, this is Suhail here.
So I used to have that right from my college days. I went to Goa for a trip. I think it stuck from there. Who will watch water, sir?
On screen action तो already क्या enjoy किया, the romance part or the action part?
I think both, because in a real life also I'm a very lovey-dovey person. I believe in love. I believe in action, so I got to perform both the things. So it was really fun for me to manage that.
अच्छा, uncomfortable किसमें थे, action में या romance में?
I was really uncomfortable when I was performing the action, because I was trying hard not to injure anybody. Like all the fighters were there, and I was trying not to hit them very hard. So that was the only difficult part was there. Romance was easy, and action was much more easy than anything else.
हम सर आपसे सवाल, जनरल से लेकर सत्या सरकार अनगिनत फिल्में आपके नाम पर, आप माइक में दिग्गजों के साथ आप काम कर चुके हैं, नए नसीबों से चल रहा हूँ, क्या बदलाव देखते हैं आप? जब मैं बात करता हूँ एक फिल्म की रिलीज जब आ जाती है और अब एक मोनोपोली जैसा माहौल चल गया है कि भाई आपके पास कई लिस्टर है तो आपको थिएटर मिल रहे हैं, या आपका गेटिंग मोर थिएटर मोर स्क्रीन, इस बारे में आप क्या कहना चाहेंगे? क्या वजह मानते हैं जो आज माहौल है जब कोई एक नया मेकर, आपसे तो बात नहीं कर रही कि कोई नया मेकर सब कुछ भेज बात किया आता है और फिल्म बनाता है, इंडस्ट्री का हिस्सा बनता है, लेकिन फिल्म थिएटर तक पहुंच ही नहीं पाती? What's your take on the current scenario?
See, I remember Amitabh Bacchan told me in one interview, I was also there, he said, whatever people when they say that we are not getting the opportunity, I think he said something like, you can't really put a good man down, so the whole point is, crime. मैं सेक्स पे कहाँ फिल्म बनाए मैं, अगर आप ये बताओ अभी।
Mostly फिल्में आपकी सर बहुत बोल्ड होती हैं।
See, the point is beauty and sex are different. Please understand. अगर maybe you don't like women, I don't know, but I think. Okay, sir. Now the question is already answered. If everybody clap means they don't have a problem. So only you have a problem. Okay. Now coming to the crime part. See, I definitely do not like normal people and normal people's life stories. I want dramatic, I want intensity, I want the darkness, like a horror or a gangster or like you said, a crime drama. I definitely have an affinity for that. But at the same time, I made films like Rangila, which is a love story. I made Dod, which is a caper film, like a light-hearted adventure. And I made Sarkar, which is a political drama, which is not really the gangster thing. So I think I might be the only guy who probably put my finger in every kind of film. It is not like a stuck to one thing.
राम सर, आपकी फिल्म?
I technically make genre films. I don't make films which have this large base, with big stars. They have images and they have to cater to a large number of diverse kind of audiences. Right from my first film, I always made. When we take new people, they look believable, they look relatable. So if you take a movie like Satya, you actually believe that they were there in that slum. The moment you take known people, their past films images will come into their characters, and the believability quotient keeps going lesser and lesser. I am not saying you shouldn't do that. That is what many filmmakers believe. But I like to get them immersed in the story and believing the existence of this character in real time. That is where I have a tendency to take new people.
आप सेक्स और क्राइम से बाहर निकलकर कभी सोशल मुद्दों पर फिल्म क्यों नहीं बनाते?
But I'm not very sure. See, you are giving an opinion of what people are saying. So what do you want me to say about that? My reaction on that. No, that I understood. So I'm saying you want me to give my analysis of that.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. See, the point is, I always maintain, after whether I make a horror film, then after Satya became a blockbuster, I did a film called Count, which is shot in 15 days. I always kept jumping from film to film, which all of them worked for the budget I made. I never ever said I want to make a big film and the commercial blockbusters and all that. So that is not in the space I am. So after that, when the social media was not there so active, So they took it the way it is. Now the social media, everybody has a mouth and everybody says, अरे ये क्या हो गया, इसको ये संकी हो गया, ऐसा फिल्म क्यों बना रहा है, ये तो अभी सेक्स और क्राइम बना रहे जैसे आपने कहा. So all this is happening and a resound because of the social media is what I feel. Yeah.
सर मेरा क्वेश्चन है. सर जब आप इस फिल्म के लिए काम कर रहे थे, स्क्रिप्ट बना रहे थे या फिल्म उसको कर रहे थे, तो जिस तरीके से अभी OTT भी प्लेटफॉर्म काफ़ी हावी हो चुका है बॉलीवुड पर, तो आपने कभी सोचा था कि लड़की का मैं OTT पे ना एक बॉलीवुड मूवी बनाकर?
See, point here, OTT is just one more device. See, there is no such thing as OTT and theatre. Theatre का function है इसलिए कि because the rentals of theatres and publicity aspect एक ज़्यादा होगा. Other than that, I don't see, because whether you want to release on OTT or this or satellite or some other way, I think it is decision of the makers. You know, आज की डेट आप बहुत सारे टाइम आप ये भी देख रहे हैं कि all of them can happen at the same time or some in a staggered release it can happen. So I don't. आज के डेट में मेरे ख्याल से OTT और थिएटर का कुछ absolutely there is no difference.
रामू जी, this film is an Indo-Chinese प्रोडक्शन, यू नो, तो हम जहाँ पर चाइनीज को बैन करने की बात कर रहे हैं, वहाँ पर आप चाइनीज के साथ कोलैबोरेशन और चाइनीज लेकर आ रहे हो, तो इस पर लाइक यू नो पब्लिक की क्या प्रतिक्रिया रहेगी?
See, the point is एक political aspect होती है. Politically, what the two governments are feeling is different, and cinema is about art. Martial arts is an art. Bruce Lee is someone who's loved all over the world. You know, just because there's a temporary, sometimes a problem happens, because even those problems you don't know, एक दिन होते अगले हफ्ते निकल जाते फिर वापस आते. You know, that is how it happened. They sound more like squabbles to me. But when we are not making a political statement in the film, then I think problems with the country should not affect what is not related to it.
But revenue system works in that thing, na? मतलब when it's an Indo-Chinese production.
No, revenue system works based on the principles of China, what they do there. I mean, in terms of the kind of system what they operate, which obviously we have to go by the law of the land, and the same thing here.
Okay.
Thank you
so much. Can we have some?
And एक कोई बंदा आया and he was on the bike. तो उन्होंने कुछ कमेंट किया मेरी मॉम के ऊपर and मैं बहुत गुस्सा हो गई and I started running behind him and वो बाइक पे थे, तो I almost got him and then he just slipped away. So I wish, not wish, I'm happy कि ऐसा कोई situation मेरे ऊपर नहीं आया अभी तक and किसी और लड़की के ऊपर भी ना आया. I wish for that.
रामू सर,
Yes.
जहाँ आज इंडस्ट्री में
Maybe some 20 years back, when Meera Nair's film became a big hit, you know, Monsoon Wedding, they started calling crossover films. You always want to put a name, you know. So, see, eventually, if Hollywood films are released all over the world, but they don't call it a pan-world film. That's a typical Indian mentality, you know. If you remember, even in the time of when the gentleman, that Prabhudeva film, Hamse Mukabla and all that, whichever is a big film, used to come and run here also, in Hindi. So for a short period that happened, maybe 3-4 years or something. There was instances when something like Hum Aapke Kaun or Maine Pyar Kiya were dubbed in South, in Telugu and Tamil language, which worked. But what happened recently is the numbers have become so big that they overtook Hindi collections. That is where the shock is. So, like, you know, the satellite market or the so-called Hindi dubbing market, which was always very big for many, many years. But people had this mental block, both in North and South, was sirf satellite mein chalti hai. So they never even bothered to check if it will work if you release it in the theatre. So they thought they're getting a handsome chunk of money, chalo Hindi dubbing mein bhej do. But they got a shock of their life with Pushpas and KGF 2 and RRR and all this. So I think now it is a time especially because of OTT, any good content can be put anywhere. Because if people are watching Malayalam films on OTT and sitting in Bombay, or Korean films, so the whole world is at your disposal. So then a theatrical release is just about your capacity and your own vision of whether it can do well or not. I think that change has come now, very suddenly, and it took everybody by surprise. A lot of people have this misconception that Bollywood is shocked about this, but actually South is equally shocked. You know, it is not true that only Bollywood, because I think now Kannada industry, for example, we were not aware of its existence. You know, nobody in Andhra Pradesh sees a Kannada film, AP in Telangana or in Tamil Nadu. And now that became the highest grossing Hindi film. A dubbed Hindi film is highest grosser of Indian cinema, is something which you could have never thought of in your life. Yeah.
And one question for Pooja.
Yes, sir.
पूजा आडनाव तुमचं कार्णिक आहे, म्हणजे मराठी तुमचं मदर टंग आहे, पण आता मराठीमध्ये ऑफर मिळाला तर करणार काय?
नक्की सर. Why not? I mean, Marathi is like, I've seen a lot of Marathi films and I would really love to do it. अगर कोई अच्छी फिल्म, अच्छी स्क्रिप्ट हो तो क्यों नहीं?
And what did you like as far as Ram Gopal Verma's direction is concerned? Because he has a unique, different directorial style.
I think what he has done with Pooja Kane's character, it's just gonna stick with me for the rest of my life. And Pooja Kane and Ladki holds a very special place in my heart. So जो Pooja Kane का character है वो हमेशा मेरे लिए बहुत ही special रहेगा.
रामू सर, आपकी ये फिल्म चीन में भी रिलीज होने वाली है, तो वहाँ की ऑडियंस की पसंद नापसंद को ध्यान रख के कहानी में कुछ आपने बदलाव या कुछ ऐड किया?
No, not
और
at all.
दूसरी बात,
Absolutely.
क्या गाने भी होंगे वहाँ के वर्जन में?
Yes, they're there. See, पहली बात ये है कि the basic point of the story being, of course, right from the beginning, she wants to improve her training, and she looks for. Then she hears of this one grand old master who's an expert in Jeet Kune Do. That's where the Chinese character came into the film, you know. And then there is a thing, the fact that she's obsessed with Bruce Lee. Her boyfriend takes her to Foshan city as a gift to her, and that's where the highest, largest and highest statue of Bruce Lee is there in the world, like you would have seen in the trailer. So I think the element of she going there to the native place of Bruce Lee as a big emotional high, that is one part. And the fact her teacher is a Chinese grandmaster who teaches her Jeet Kune Do, the Bruce Lee style. These are the two reasons, but they were always there in the script. I didn't make any changes because the Chinese production was involved. Yeah.
Pooja, in real life, did you have a
She's not able to fully capture it. Now, I had a long discussions with her in the context of before, you know. Interestingly, the fact that Rangila is being mentioned, you know. Now, when I was making Rangila, Urmila also similarly like Pooja, she's come from a very Maharashtrian middle class background, very conservative family. At the time, I told Urmila, see, if there is no such thing, so there's a very age-old thing when journalists ask, does a story demand exposure? But no story demands anything, first of all, you know. Now it's a question, because a film is a visual. How the actor is looking, there's a layer to it, and which is backed by the story. Now, because Urmila has such a fantastic body, you know. Now, if Rangila, when one of the most memorable visuals in that is when she is running on the beach, you know, I don't think that visual will work without what she's wearing, like a swimsuit or something, you know. So the point when I spoke to Pooja initially, of course first of all, she's not coming from a film background, she comes from a martial artist background. So I told her, now you've got a body which is so perfect in terms of it's an inspiration. So in the context when a Tiger Shroff or a Hrithik Roshan or a John Abraham or any of them, all the time they're waiting to show off their bodies, you know. And I think it's a double standard to think a woman should not do that, especially when she's in that the same visual art of filmmaking. So I said, if you do it with conviction, you take a pride in what your body is, that will come out as effective. Because most of the time you are scared of your peers, what they will think, what somebody will say, what somebody will point out. You know, that comes as hardness. Like even in Rangila, I remember my mother, when we used to see Singing in the Rain, this kind of films, so she was used to enjoy it. A lot of the girls are wearing bikinis and all that. But she just likes the feel. So I told Urmila from the same context. But in those days, if you look at some of these Sarkailo Katela kind of song, where the lyrics and the dance moves are designed to kind of make it look vulgar. Maybe for some section of audience, I'm not saying it's wrong or right. But when you feel it's beautiful, it will come across beautiful and people connect to the emotion, you know. So, for example, whatever you saw just now, I would think if she's not wearing clothes like that, the precision of her movements and her control of her body will not be the same if she's wearing track pants or some karate dress, for example. Yeah.
Pooja, have you started getting offers after watching the trailers? Because the trailer is looking really very enlightening and it shows you in a very powerful role, you know.
I am getting a couple of offers right now, but I'm choosing every script very, very carefully because I want to do, like in the beginning at least, I want to do action films and the role should be pivotal. I mean, there should be something strong about that role that it should inspire people. I feel that. So I'm choosing script very carefully right now, ma'am.
No, I don't ever do that, but I definitely am going to make Ladki 2 for sure. Again, the same companies, all of them together. All the script work is also done. And the fact, one is I love Bruce Lee, and then I love to see the beautiful body of a woman in front of my camera more than anything else. So in both ways, I think Ladki 2 is on the cards.
Yeah, Arjun sir, yeah. The title Ladki is very intriguing. What was it that you chose this title? Because there's no adjective, you know.
The reason
after this, what is it that the Chinese people found fascinating when you sent them the footage to?
See, I will tell two things. I mean, there's two parts to your question. The first part is because in the script there are 3-4 characters. When they first hear about Pooja, like Abhimanyu Singh, Rajpal Yadav, they keep saying Ladki. Ladki ne kya? What are you saying? You know? So the shock that a woman can do what you expect from a man. In fact, there's a very typical scene in the beginning of the film where I did just a role reversal. You've seen hundreds of films where when some goons are teasing a girl and a guy comes to in her defense. I just did the same scene with the role reversal where the guy is being teased and the girl comes to rescue him. You know? So what all you typically think a Ladki cannot do, or there's no way it can happen, which is the reason I thought it would be ironically to call Ladki. You know, so in my, it's not like Ladki, it's Ladki. That is how I pronounce it in my mind, and you know, that might not come in the just to see the logo. To answer the second part, see, one part is that why did the Chinese get so excited seeing her, and second part is like it's a shock to us. It's releasing in 40,000 more than 40,000 screens in China on the same day. You know, the nearest I can explain that is when we saw Bruce Lee in India, to see a Chinese face suddenly coming, I think it seemed so exotic because we never saw anything like that. I don't think if Enter the Dragon, with the same martial art technique, maybe a black or an American or someone, I don't know if it will have the same impact. So I think to see an Indian face doing what they are experts. See, martial arts are born in China. Bruce Lee came from there, Jackie Chan, all of them, Tony Yen, at least 4 to 5 of the top martial artists, they came from China. So I think they find it very exotic to see Indian face doing, and they feel that even if you search on Google, if you go to the many famous female martial artist films which was made in China, like the High Kick Girl, there are quite a few of them, and they felt none of them matched to Pooja's skill. That is the main thing. You can check out for yourself, you know, in a sense. So I think a combination of an exotic face which doesn't belong to them, but she is doing something probably better than their actors there at the moment. I think this is the combination which worked.
I have a question.
I came from a sportsman background. I was a total tomboy girl, if you say. When I met sir, when I performed in front of him, I was wearing tracksuit and I was very underconfident at that time. But the moment we started working on the project, and I started to learn that I should look in a certain way, I should wear a certain type of clothes and carry a certain demeanor. So I started working on that. I started doing my own makeup and wearing a little bit girly clothes, started wearing earrings. So that change from a sportsman to a heroine, it took a very long time for me, and I worked really hard on it. I worked really hard on my body. Like as you can see, I'm wearing bikini and all other clothes are also there. So I'm really proud of what we have achieved with the film, and I think we're just overthinking it, like calling it what did you say? Just the word you used. Yeah, sex posing. I don't think so. That's the point here. We're just trying to empower women. We're just trying to send a message that no matter what clothes you're wearing, whether it's a sari or a bikini or jeans, you should be able to protect yourself. If a scenario like this, comes in your life, you should be able to protect yourself.
That's what I meant. You are so. What do you have to say, about your performances that you've done?
What I'm trying to do here is just, just showing my love to Bruce Lee and trying to perform accordingly. So when people compare me to Bruce Lee, they call me a dragon girl or a Bruce Lee girl. It makes me really happy, yet I try to keep my legs on the ground. So yeah, when people posted Urmila ma'am's picture on social media and they were comparing me to her, I felt really special. I mean she's beautiful. I would love to be like her someday. Yeah.
Ma'am, इधर ma'am. Thank you.
एक मार्शल आर्ट्स वाला एक पोज कोई